Blood dripped from his ankle, torn by reeds that lashed his skin like living claws. Each drop vanished into the swampy water, greedily consumed by the marsh. Thick fog wrapped him like a cold shroud, constricting his breath. Behind him, an invisible flame crackled from deep underground. He turned, but only darkness and furious reeds stared back. Suddenly the ground split. Mud, like a hungry mouth with rotten root teeth, swallowed his legs and dragged him down. His scream was smothered by mist, but his eyes remained open, peering in terror at a massive creature beneath. A body of moss and reeds, eyes glowing like cold flames, a mouth bristling with sharp, marsh-born teeth. The lagoon devoured him, but this was not the end. The curse had just begun. His camera, still hanging around his neck, sank into the water, and its last frame captured a faceless shadow grinning at him. Days earlier, in his grandfather's abandoned basement, he discovered an old letter, its paper yellowed, edges scorched, as though rescued from fire. The trembling lines spoke of a secret in Shadegan Lagoon, a secret his grandfather had fled in horror, never to return. The words slithered into his mind as if alive, pulling him toward the marsh. Now, on a dusty road leading there, fog encircled him like a living wall. The air stank of scorched earth and decay. Then the sound of an unseen flame rose behind him, as if the lagoon recognized him and lay in wait. His heart pounded, but a dark curiosity urged his feet forward. Towering reeds flanked his path like living blades, sharp, angry guardians of the marsh. With every step, they clawed at his skin, leaving small but agonizing wounds. Blood dripped from his fingers, swallowed instantly by the bog. Then a long spear-like reed coiled around his ankle like a cold, bony hand crushing his pulse. The reeds trembled. It felt like the lagoon itself was breathing, drawing him closer to death. Their rustling whispered his name in the darkness, even though he never spoke it. A deafening roar thundered from the water, the reeds, the sky, as if 1,000 logs were burning in a colossal fire. But no flame appeared, only living fog and darkness closing in. The noise advanced, as if invisible claws were scraping his flesh, burning his bones. His heart raced, desperate to escape his chest. He raised his camera to take a picture, but the lens showed only fog. Then, for a fraction of a second, a burned face appeared on the screen. Hollow eyes, open mouth, skin melting away. He choked on a scream. The camera slipped from his hand, but the strap held tight. On the swampy ground, footprints appeared. Elongated, clawed toes filled with black blood, as if drawn from the veins of the earth itself. They led deeper into the lagoon, then vanished as though the owner dissolved into mist. The stench of rot filled his nostrils, suffocating him. A local legend sparked in his mind. The lagoon etches its victims' footprints to lure the next. A cold wind howled. The reeds bent as if pointing the way, a path leading only to death. With every step, he sensed something in the darkness trailing him. The fog thickened into a living wall, imprisoning him invisibly. Then eyes emerged, hundreds glowing, floating mid-air. Bodiless, motionless, unblinking, cold star-like orbs that seemed to devour his soul. Fear froze him, breath caught in his chest. As they drew near, bone-shattering cold crept through him. One eye, larger than the rest, hovered inches from his face. In its reflection, he saw himself, but not himself, a faceless entity with a toothy mouth made of reeds. In front of him stood a charred, blackened tree, its trunk scarred by deep gashes as though claws tore outward from within. Its roots, like skeletal fingers, rose from mud and submerged into black water. Suddenly the tree trembled and a wail echoed. Neither human nor beast, but the cry of a trapped soul. A burnt handprint glowed faintly on its bark, as if someone burned alive inside had left their mark. An ancient story surfaced. The lagoon's first victim was a woman burned in water, her spirit forever trapped in Shadegan's trees. Wind shrieked and branches stretched toward him, as if eager to pull him in. A broken, inhuman laugh rose from the marsh's depths, like a woman screaming inside fire, smothered by water. It echoed in his skull, gnawing at his sanity. He lifted his camera toward the water. A woman appeared on the screen, hair ablaze, not with flame but tangled reeds like snakes around her head. Her eyes bled, her grin tore through flesh, revealing a mouth full of savage teeth. He screamed, but the mist swallowed his voice. Laughter echoed louder, the lagoon mocking him. He reached the water's edge. The black, still surface reflected the shattered moon like a broken mirror. Suddenly, small ripples appeared, as though an unseen entity walked across, its steps heavy and hungry. The footsteps approached faster, the stench of death intensified with every wave. The marsh's birds, silent until then, shrieked and fled skyward, as though fleeing something unspeakable. Something cold and wet grazed his neck, a slick hand at pulse height. He spun around, but there was only fog and terror. Water rose to his waist, cold, heavy as a living force dragging him inward. Something sharp and bony clamped onto his ankle, snapping his bone. Long black nails tore his flesh. Blood bloomed into the darkness like ink. He looked down. Only glowing eyes stared back from the depths. The lagoon wanted him utterly. Fleeing toward the reeds, water chained him back like iron bonds. From beneath, a moan surfaced, the chorus of prior victims calling him home. Amid the reeds, ragged, blood-soaked cloth hung like cursed flags. Some still glistened wet, seemingly torn moments ago from a body. Beside one scrap lay a rusted ring etched with undecipherable symbols, glowing faintly in the gloom. The stench of death churned his stomach. A legend surfaced. The lagoon keeps its victims, not to kill them, but to bind them eternally to the curse. Suddenly the cloth fluttered in the wind, as if the souls behind them still breathed. Something cold and wet grazed his back, perhaps a breeze, perhaps a spirit's touch. He moved to the water again, its surface reflecting him, but his face was not his own. His eyes were black voids that opened onto another world. His mouth stretched into jagged spikes like shattered reeds. Skin cracked as if invisible flames had burned him. His reflection grinned, a bone-shaking smile tearing at his soul. A cold, slick hand rose from the water and gripped his wrist with crushing force, as if pulling him into the mirror. He screamed and tore away, but the reflection stayed behind, eyes burning with hunger, following him even as he stepped away. Mist churned like a sea swallowing the sky. Rising from the black water was a colossal form, body of moss and decaying reeds, eyes blazing as cold flames, and a gaping maw that seemed the gateway to death. Neither beast nor man, this was the curse god of the lagoon, born of forgotten victims. The reeds bowed as it moved. The flame-like roar deafened him. Paralyzed, he could neither move nor cry. The creature inhaled and drew his soul into itself like a vortex that swallowed time, light, and hope. Its eyes locked with his, and in them he saw the faces of past victims, thousands of faceless beings. Mist lifted him off the ground, a broken doll in the hands of an unseen entity. His mind overflowed with visions, victims who had come before, their bodies shattered, souls trapped within the reeds. His name, his memories, even his scream were ripped away. His eyes turned white as mist. A voice whispered deep inside, "You belong to us forever." His camera, still in his hand, snapped one final photo, not showing him but a faceless being with glowing eyes. The lagoon had consumed his spirit, but kept his body to serve the curse. The reeds leaned in, as though calling him into their embrace. Next morning, Shadegan Lagoon lay silent in a deathly stillness. The fog dissolved, but the reeds still whispered, hiding their curse anew. There was no trace of the traveler, no body, no bag, not even a drop of blood. Yet his camera hung mysteriously from a dried branch at the lagoon's edge, wet and covered in moss, as if the marsh had returned it. Its final picture showed a faceless figure, eyes glowing in the darkness, and a smile born from the reeds. Days later, in a distant town, a young female photographer received an anonymous package, an old camera, no sender. Inside, a trembling note read, "The truth awaits in Shadegan." That night, she dreamed she heard flame without fire and saw a shadow in her mirror calling her name. Shadegan's curse had claimed its next victim. Shadegan Lagoon never sleeps. Do you dare approach this marsh of spirits?